Hey guys, my name is Jonathan Reich. I want to welcome everyone to the Accounting Stack. Today I want to walk you through some of the mistakes I see founders make whenever they're first starting out, when they're first doing their own bookkeeping and accounting. You can see I've got some stuff here on the screen for you. I'm going to share a couple softwares and just some of the hurdles that I see a lot of business owners face whenever they're just trying to cut costs, maybe cut corners. Nothing wrong with cutting a corner if it's a corner you can cut. And I want to just kind of lead through some of those issues I've seen and save that heartache for others. So I am a licensed CPA in the state of Louisiana, so I think I'm a really good subject matter expert for this. It's things I've seen running my business, helping founders get theirs off the ground, and it's just something I deal with day to day. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the topic, and it's just accounting mistakes that I see by founders, by startups. So the first one, I think, and if you're watching this, it means you're already in the right direction. The first one that I see very often, hey, my business is pretty small. I don't have a ton of bank transactions. I'm going to keep up with it in Excel because it's free. It's easy to use. Most people know someone who can just work through things in Excel. But if you don't know how a profit and loss works, if you don't know what a profit and loss looks like, what it's telling you, my different service revenues, and this is just a mock-up of one that I've generated, but the different service revenues, what my total revenue is, my cost of goods sold, what my gross profit is, what my gross margin is. If you can't build one of these based off of the hundreds of bank transactions that are underlying all this, don't do it in Excel. Maybe you are a sole proprietor and you work on the weekends. Maybe you're just trying to get your business set up and you just have a list of bank transactions. I would say maybe, but I really think this is penny wise, pound foolish, just because you don't know how your business is performing if this is not always up to date. If you're not taking the time at the end of the week, each week, to say, how'd I do? Let me load all those bank transactions, all the checks I wrote, all the card swipes I did, all the loans to employees that I had because they needed to make rent, whatever. It all has to be loaded in here. And then this is just a profit and loss. This is only 1/3 of it. You got the profit and loss, the balance sheet, and the statement of cash flows. Let's go ahead and jump over to the balance sheet. If you can't build a balance sheet, you're not an accountant, or you're not a bookkeeper, or you don't have the experience necessary to do it, keeping an Excel file it's a great way to shoot yourself in the foot because you don't know how healthy your business is and you don't know what your current assets are, how much you've prepaid for software expense. You don't know what you owe to your vendors. This is a big one. As soon as you start getting accounts payable and vendors start selling you stuff on account and you're using cash methodology of accounting and you're only recording the expense when you pay it from the bank statement, you are just misstating the entire health of your business. I think starting with Excel spreadsheets is a very, very slippery slope unless you're a super small business with 10 transactions a month and you're only working on the weekends and you're diligent and you can take those transactions and make something out of them. I just think it's a very slippery slope. And that is one of the first and biggest mistakes I see founders who are really trying to bootstrap and save money. That's the one I see the most often. All right, let's go ahead and close out of this. The next one I want to talk about is maybe using a software just because you're familiar with it. So as you can see, I've got QuickBooks here. QuickBooks is okay for a lot of small businesses, a lot of founders, startups, management. They're familiar with it. It's got a comfortable interface. And I think this is something that a lot of founders can get wrong because while QuickBooks is always evolving, they're always kind of changing their product, they're trying to keep it sleek and up to date. It doesn't look like it's from 2008 anymore. A lot of times when you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail, right? So QuickBooks can do a lot of things. It can run a lot of different businesses, everything from construction to retail to food. It can do it, but it doesn't mean it's the right tool for the job. And I'll give you a great example of that. QuickBooks can do construction accounting, for instance, but in order to have accurate books with construction accounting, you have to do project costing, cost of completion, things like that. That means you're going to need some type of Excel work paper, some type of work in progress worksheet where you're going to have to make journal entries each month. And that's fine if you are an accountant, if you know how to do that. But for folks who are just, hey, I've got the bank feed coming in, I'm coding my transactions, I'm sending out invoices, I'm recognizing cash when it comes through, it can get a little clunky, right? Especially if you're not on top of it every day. Now, if you have a bookkeeper doing that and they're really good at their job, they can take a lot of that burden off of you. But it doesn't mean it's the right tool for the job just because people are familiar with it. And you'll see where I'm going with this. The other thing that I want to fuss about is QuickBooks is constantly nickel and diming you. Just here, they're at $275 a month just for the advanced version. And yeah, it says $137.50 here, but that's just for the first 3 months. The other thing is if I'm not mistaken, they're about to have a price increase in August of 2026. It's July 16th. So here in a couple weeks, their price is going to go up again. I mean, $38 a month is, I mean, that's about $500 a year after taxes. That's just for their simple one. Or is that, let's see, yeah, that's about $500 a year, $480 a year before taxes. And then after you pay for that, if you're going to be running payroll, if you're going to recognize yourself as an employee of your business, don't worry, you pick one of these and then they come in and say, hey, how about another $100 a month plus $10 for each employee? Or how about another $50 a month plus, almost $7 per employee? Or even here, I mean, it's just the cost. You can pay $400 or $500 if you've got a handful of employees for your accounting software. I just talked about how Excel can kind of get you into trouble. The price for an accounting software, usually there's an ROI. The better the accounting software, the more expensive it is. I just don't always see that to be the case with QuickBooks, just because Intuit is constantly raising prices. They're making tweaks here and there, but it is kind of getting to be an expensive platform. And so just jumping into the one that you're comfortable with, you're familiar with, doesn't mean it's the right choice. Finding the right tool for the job. Normally, you're going to have to couple this with a bookkeeper, because if you are actually serious about running your business, you want to have accurate books. That's the third biggest mistake that I see is business owners who say, hey, I'm going to start a business, but they neglect their accounting records, their bookkeepers, or they're keeping their books, or they don't hire a bookkeeper and they just say, hey, I'll take you to the tax CPA at the end of the year. They'll charge me a bunch of money and I can see how I did. That's a terrible way to run your business, because you don't know where you need to make adjustments throughout the year. And so that leads me into using the accounting software that is the right tool for the job. And so here I'm in Digits today. So I'm in a demo client right now. But the reason I am picking on Digits is because Digits does a lot of that for you via automation. So Digits is a little bit newer in that it uses built with AI at its center core to basically be able to automatically categorize the vast majority of transactions. And so if you have a lot of this automated, you can see how your business is doing month over month, quarter over quarter, where you need to make adjustments. Do I need to cut headcount? Do I need to increase marketing? What's my gross margin? These are questions that if you're using an Excel sheet, or if you're using QuickBooks and you're kind of, maybe not giving it the full attention that it needs, you're wasting your time. Wasted time is just brutal as a business owner, because you're so busy, you're wearing so many hats. And so Digits can help alleviate a lot of that. And so basically it's some of the legacy platforms. You'll hook up your bank account via Plaid. They have direct connections with also things like Brex and Mercury. And then as things come through, you can see here that it'll automatically categorize. So like Gusto is obviously going to be payroll. United Health is going to be employee benefits. Ramp is going to be to the Ramp expense card liability account. And it'll automatically generate those. And then the things that it's not sure about, it says, hey, I'm not 99% sure what this is. It'll generate and send it over to your dashboard to where you can review, and it'll basically just be an inbox of everything that you need to pick up on to make sure that, hey, all my expenses are accurate. So if it doesn't know what it is, they'll send it to uncategorized, and then you just go and pick it up. It's that easy. That's for the bank side of things. But like, let's say if your software is a service company and you're using Stripe, for instance. Let's see. Let me go over here to connections. You can use Stripe to help manage the recurring revenue and revenue recognition. Revenue recognition in QuickBooks will be an absolute nightmare. There are better tools out there, such as Digits, that can make your life easier, saving you time, saving you headaches, saving you frustrations. And all these connections will then flow into the reporting that you need to see how your business is running. So like if you're running payroll from any of these vendors, there's direct connections. If you're trying to manage revenue, there's direct connections to Stripe. And then all of these will just flow over to your financials. And this is what I would say, this is absolutely, positively the biggest mistake I see. If you take one thing away from this video, and I've kind of already touched on it, it is not using your financial statements. If these are confusing to you because you're not an accountant and you don't understand a profit and loss, and it's overwhelming and there's a bunch of numbers on the screen and you're just like, hey, I'm not really sure what this is telling me. I don't know what I'm looking at, which is exactly what's on my screen and why I pulled this up. You need a better accountant, you need a better CPA, or you need a better software. You need to study your financials to see how you are doing. Because if you're seeing trends in revenue, where revenue is constantly creeping up as it is here from December 24 to August 25. Ask yourself, why am I marketing more? What is causing my revenue to go up? And then what is my gross profit after the fact? If revenue is going up but gross profit staying the same, it means I'm spending too much on my cost of goods sold. And so I'm doing all this extra work trying to sell all these additional units, all these additional products or services. I'm not keeping any of it. I'm working harder trying to move more product. I'm not keeping any of it. And that is the type of stuff that you can see if you study your financials. And if you're using QuickBooks and you're not keeping up with it, or if you're using an Excel file and you're not keeping up with it, what's the point? You don't have these financials to do your homework to help analyze why your business is succeeding or worse, failing. I see it all the time. Companies come to me and say, hey, I haven't done any accounting in 2 years. I'm like, are you making money? And they're like, I don't know. So it's very frustrating for me as a CPA, which is why I'm harping on this. The automation aspect of some of these AI accounting platforms like Digits cannot be overstated, because it'll take the bulk majority of the work off of you and make it to where you actually have actionable insight, to where you can look and review how your business is performing. This is overwhelming and you don't know how to read a P&L, condense it down. This is a lot easier to read and say, okay, let's do month over month reporting. And then the other thing is, if this is really cool about Digits, QuickBooks does not do this. It'll generate these nice little graphics for you right up here. And I'm kind of in the way of this one, but it's bar charts, visuals, things that can really help you take away how your business is doing. Same with the balance sheet. If you can't read a balance sheet, then you don't know where you stand at any given time. If you're not generating the financials to build your balance sheet, you're flying blind. And that is the biggest mistake. That is the biggest thing you can get wrong when doing startup, founding a business, doing startup accounting. That is the key takeaway. And a software like Digits can help prevent that. And then it does all kinds of other stuff. You know, you can send invoices, you can pay bills, all the typical accounting platform stuff is there under the hood. It'll do it all. And it's also relatively inexpensive, I believe. Let's see. I believe Digits is around $100 a month, and I went ahead and pulled up their page here. They're $100 a month for their core, and then if you really need some powerful AI computing, you can get it for $250 a month. Compared to QuickBooks, which is several $100s a month, this is not that bad. And if you're serious about your business, you need to be serious about keeping your books. Anyway, guys, I kind of got on a soapbox there, and I'm happy I did, because if there's anything that you take away from this video, it's don't neglect the homework. Make sure you're doing your books. Make sure you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. So anyway, guys, my name's Jonathan Reich. I'm a licensed CPA in the state of Louisiana. If any of this is confusing to you, you can find me online, shoot me an email. I'm plastered all over the place out there. I want you guys to know accounting doesn't have to be stressful. You just need the right systems. I want to thank you all for watching. Hope you guys comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video.